We'll have some clients that this is, their third, second, fourth Nordhavn. Delivery date comes and they just grab the keys and they're off. Other clients, new to boating, this may be their first boat period. We'll go through everything from driving the boat, learning the systems, electrical, stuff like that. But it can vary anywhere from a week to 14 days total.
Fernando, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
I appreciate it.
My pleasure, very excited.
Looking forward to this. We've been talking on Instagram for a few months back and forth, so I'm glad we can make this this happen. So if you could kick it off with who you are, what you do, and then we'll go all the different directions.
Of course. So my name is Fernando Diaz. I'm a salesman here at Nordhavn Southeast in North Palm Beach, Florida, and I've been with the Nordhavn team for about 9 years now.
Okay.
Started on the service side, did that for about 4.5 years. Found myself kind of stuck, wanted a challenge, wanted to move up the ranks, and I came over to the dark side, as they like to call it, over to sales. And so far, I love every aspect of it.
Okay, nice. And so if we can, before we get into what goes into owning the boat, because we want to touch on, for people either that own these boats or that are thinking about buying these boats, what they actually need to prepare for. Before we dive into that, how did you get into this? I know you were a Marine. Walk us through this process of going from the Marines to service to sales. How did that work?
So basically, it was a little bit of luck. My best friend was just getting out of the Navy, and he worked on large-scale water makers in the Navy. Okay. He got hired by the company first. He ventured out. He was here for a very short time. I was at the right place at the right time, was offered a job. Started on the service side for about 4.5 years. That entailed everything from servicing the boats to commissioning, warranty items, stuff like that. So I did that for about 4.5 years. I loved every aspect of it. You get to really learn the boats, the electrical systems, the machinery spaces, stuff like that. And I kind of just felt myself stuck. I was used to being in the Marines, you're used to promotions, change of landscapes. So I decided to join the dark side in sales. And so far, it's been a great, great journey.
So has that piece of going through and doing the service and warranty work, how has that helped on the sales front?
So of course, that was very implemental, learning these boats, having hands-on training, driving the boats, learning everything from the electrical systems to the water makers, engines, generators, stuff like that. All that correlates to what I do now in sales, being able to represent those items, very knowledgeable. It was very, very helpful.
Yeah, because I bet people are reaching out to you all the time of, hey, what's going on with this part of the boat? Who do I call for this? And so are you able to then take that and diagnose actually what's going on and then point them in the right direction?
Right, depending on the severity of the problem, whether it's something electrical or something mechanical, we can steer them in the right direction. And it also depends on where they're located. Are they out at sea? Do they have, proper satellite communications to go back and forth? And if the problem gets a little too deep, we have a huge team on the West Coast, everything from electrical engineers to the very same people that design these boats and build these boats as well. So we have a full team that really, really helps and works together as a team to help our clients.
That's cool. And I follow a bunch of the team members on Instagram and I see you guys flying components out to the Bahamas. I saw one. If you've got any, what are some examples of that happening? What would be a situation that comes up and then they call you? What's the resolution?
So I haven't had a service problem yet where I've had to fly somewhere and help a client, it's an emergency or whatnot. But I have a similar story. I have a client on a 63, a Nordhavn 63, and he was having trouble delivering his boat from Mexico and entering the States. This was during COVID. So basically, Customs was telling us that they needed an American citizen on board the yacht in order to enter the States. Again, this was during COVID. And he needed me there within 24 hours and basically asked me, Fernando, can you be there in Mexico? This is flying from Palm Beach to Mexico within 24 hours. And I found myself in Ensenada, Mexico in less than 24 hours to help this owner bring the boat across the border.
Making it happen.
Making it happen at all costs, yeah. So we always get scenarios like that where, a client might need you to be somewhere quick and we'll try to do our best to accommodate that.
Yeah. It might be self-evident to you, but that's not super common definitely in this industry, but also across almost every industry with people I talk to. Why Why would you get on a plane within 24 hours to go do that?
Well, first and foremost, he was one of my first clients, but I think the bigger picture is customer service. You know, clients remember that. They remember those kind of acts of service. And at the end of the day, you know, here at Nordhavn, we're number one on customer service. I think that's very, very important.
Yeah, and the Nordhavn owners that we work with, they're meticulous. It's
That they are.
Yeah, it's cool to watch because it's the Nordhavn owners, the trawler owners across the spectrum. It's cool because they post all this stuff on social media, so you get to see that experience of what they're going through. Like, oh, we're traveling from Washington to British Columbia, or we're going up to Alaska, and all these things. So you do actually get a glimpse into the kind of customers you're working with, but they do give you guys shout outs all the time. Like
they do, yeah.
You follow like MV, all of these different boats, and they're always like, yeah, Nordhavn, help us out.
Right.
That's how I found out about all these things. What's that been like to interact with this whole community of Nordhavn owners? Like, what's that been like for you?
So for myself, I think I came in right at the perfect time where social media was getting bigger due to COVID. There was more people spending time on their phones, searching boats or cars, whatever it may be. And I think being 2023, that's really the future, social media. You know, you have a lot of big companies and brands that promote their business on social media. As you know, I'm constantly posting stuff online on Instagram. And it's not so much where you're posting the brand or trying to sell something, but just the interaction that keeps clients and their brokers or friends connected on a daily basis. It kind of makes you feel like you're there with that person and you know that person more than you really do.
Yeah.
And you kind of get to see each other's lives. And, you know, like you mentioned, you're on a boat, you're cruising down through the Panama Canal or whatnot, and people get to see, you know, my daily life, what goes into my life outside of sales. And I think overall that just builds a better connection with clients and brokers.
Yeah, for sure. And I had a question I wanted to ask you on that front. Well, okay, so one of the things that I notice when I talk to different yacht owners is that everything breaks. You're out on the water, it's a boat, you could build the most perfect boat, something will still break.
Something will always be broken.
It's inevitable. So from your guys' side of things, one of the main complaints I hear from yacht owners that we talk to is from whatever manufacturer they're with, we don't know what part was broken or what was built with it. We reach out to them, there's this long lead time, everything along these lines. It's pretty frustrating for these boat owners because you're spending a ton of money. Like some of these, it's a minimum of 15, 20 grand a month. And that could be on the low end for some of these in terms of expenses. It's like, hey, I can't use this boat because it's broken all the time. So what do you guys do? What do you guys put in place to help avoid that for your owners to make it a better ownership experience?
So basically, let's say someone purchases a new boat. We'll have all the serial numbers and model numbers of items that go into that boat. So let's say, for example, an owner had to remove a fridge or whatnot, and he can't access that barcode or for whatever reason. We'll have that on file. And we also have service centers throughout the country. So we have a full service center here that can help our clients, you know, whether it's with service, warranty, commissioning work. We do refits. We can add jacuzzis, like you said. We've done it in the past. But overall, we have a system where we can enter these items and we can access that item depending on what item the buyer or the owner is referring to.
Got it. Okay, perfect. So you're giving them this data to be able to actually make informed decisions, not just guesswork.
Correct. And along with new boat purchases, a lot of these items, they'll have to go through and contact these manufacturers for warranty purposes as well.
Yeah, and it's inevitable that you're going to have to contact.
But I'm sure with Vessel Vanguard, it could make that process a lot easier if they had it all, you know, at the palm of their hands, whether it's an iPhone, a tablet, an iPad, whatever the case may be.
Definitely, that's what we're here for.
You see a lot of the old school maintenance logs, and people are writing stuff down. You know, it's all on paper. Yeah. You drop some water, and now it's all smeared. You can't read what it says. So
yeah, it's super common. Like we talk to captains all the time that, like, we showed up on a galleon not too long ago. I was like, hey, when did you take this over? Oh, a few months ago. Oh, what were the logbooks like? He's like, You really want to know?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Show me. He opens a book that looks just like this. And it had one page with probably about this much writing on it.
Right.
And I was like, okay, where's like the rest of the logs? He's like, this is what I'm working with.
Yeah.
This is all I got.
Yeah.
So the new captain comes in and they have to figure out what they're doing from this much writing. It's at least $1.5 million boat.
Right.
Might be more.
Right.
And I'm working with a page.
And is it legible? You know, can you read it? I mean, the way I see it is if it's on a tablet, like an iPad, for example, instead of going page through page looking for something, you'll just type in the search bar. Let's say I'm looking for a Mealy fridge, and it'll just pop up everything that correlates with Mealy. And, you know, you're just saving time, which saving time lets you be on the water for much more time.
So, and I want to definitely come back to what goes into maintaining these boats and what people need to be prepared for. But before jumping into that, if you're talking to somebody that wants to buy a Nordhavn or somebody that's looking to buy a yacht in general, like what are the initial things that you talk to them about to get them prepped that most people don't really know because they haven't gone through? Like what are some of those?
For purchasing?
Yeah.
I would say the biggest thing that I see is clients or boat shoppers not contacting an insurance company to see what boats they qualify for. So there's a lot of instances where you'll have clients looking for 50-foot, 60-foot, 70-foot yachts, not knowing that they don't have enough experience to purchase that yacht unless they have a full-time captain on board. So, you know, first step would be to contact an insurance agent. They'll ask you a few questions. You know, what type of boats have you owned? How long have you cruised on the water? And they'll be able to point you in the right direction. Okay, John, the biggest boat based off your experience is a 50-foot boat. Try this out as your first boat, cruise for a year, and then we can bump you up to a 60-foot or a 65-footer. So I would say the first step would be to contact an insurance agent just so that you know your limits and you're not searching, wasting time on a boat that in theory you probably can't purchase, or you're not wanting to hire a full-time captain for that sake.
Got it. Yeah, and you don't want to have a $2, $5, $10 million uninsurable asset sitting there. Well, and so I probably have an idea of why, but what are some of the things when you talk to these insurance brokers, like what is that metric? Like why do they want to make you test it and make sure that you can handle this boat before bumping up to the next? Does that come from just like terrible things have happened and they're learning their lesson?
I'm going to guess it's similar to the car insurance. So if you have a lot of bad experiences, they're probably going to cap you off at a certain boat. Or if you've had, let's say, too many crash incidents, they're probably going to require that you have a full-time captain. But for insurance needs, I would definitely I use Gina Glassdoyle out of Dana Point, California.
Okay.
She's with Hayden Insurance, and I recommend all my clients to Gina.
So in addition to the insurance, so they've got to check for that and make sure they're actually buying the right size that they can even buy the size boat that they want. What else should they look at?
The second step would be financing. So similar to home purchasing, if you're going to finance a boat, you want to make sure that your financing is in place. We don't want to get to a boat purchase and we're going through the process. We're getting towards the end of closing, and for whatever reason, you can't secure your financing and now the deal falls through.
Yeah.
So the second step would definitely be securing financing. Although most of the deals that I see myself are cash deals, we do have that small percentage of boat sales that are financing. And the third one, I would probably say find a good broker that you're comfortable with. In this industry, you'll see it's a small world. You know, clients will talk to multiple brokers, which I wouldn't say that's a negative thing, but again, similar to home purchasing, you don't pay anything for using a buyer's broker. So the seller pays the commission, the buyer's broker doesn't pay anything. So find someone that you like, someone that you can relate to, someone that you trust, someone that is knowledgeable, but try not to talk to multiple brokers, because if that word gets out, now you'll get less feedback from each broker because they're not sure who you're gonna choose.
Got it.
So I would say just working with one reliable broker that you trust, that you can relate to, that you're comfortable with at the end of the day. You wanna make sure you're comfortable. You don't wanna feel nervous or whatnot.
Yeah, understood. Okay, so it's the insurance, get that squared away. Financing, if you're going to pay with cash, make sure that that's good. But also, if you're going to finance it, get that squared away, and then find a good broker.
Find a good broker, yeah.
Okay.
And I think with finding a good broker, it comes down to where are you looking to purchase the boat? If you live in Florida and you're looking to purchase a boat in Washington, it's probably best to find a broker that's in Washington, knows the landscape, knows the connections there, and vice versa.
Yeah. So when somebody comes to you, they want to buy a boat, what is that initial conversation like? How, do they reach out to you to ask, like, here's what I'm looking for, here's what I want to do? What does that entail?
So for me, I think it comes very organically, very smoothly, again, with social media. So most clients aren't reaching out to me like, hey, I have a question about this boat or I want to buy this boat. It's always like if I post something in the gym, the conversation starts from, what are you working out? Or if I'm at my nephew's baseball games, they're talking about how their kids play baseball. So it's not necessarily we jump straight into business. And I think that's what I like about social media. I'm not cold calling them, I'm not cold emailing them. They're basically finding me and we're starting a dialogue without, speaking about boats. We're not even talking business. It's just, hey, this is who I am. I know who you are. These are the things that I like. What do we have in common?
Imagine if you had full control of your boat. You felt safer, eliminated the unknown, and you were able to forecast and plan for your boat's upcoming maintenance instead of being caught off guard. Can you imagine knowing exactly what is installed on your boat, down to the part and serial number on all of your standard and custom equipment at a moment's notice? Having instant access to your manuals while at dock or at sea, and provide custom departure checklists specifically for your boat and your crew. Imagine ensuring the safety of your vessels and passengers with instant access to send emergency alerts, and being able to ensure the value and the pedigree of your boat with digital logs recording the full history of every event on your boat. Well, you can with Vessel Vanguard. We are the leading maintenance and safety management software in the marine industry. We work with a wide range of marine industry experts, including yacht owners, captains, ferry, and tugboat operators. If you're looking to safeguard your assets and preserve your revenue, visit vesselvanguard.com and schedule a demonstration for yourself. The link can be found in the show notes below. We look forward to supporting you and your vessel soon.
It's really interesting how social media plays that role. It does make things flow smoother. And like you were mentioning before, with this, we connected because we were following you for a few weeks, and then you followed back. We were sharing stuff, and then it's been 3 or 4 months at this point. But over that time, I've got to see the different stuff that you're working on, going to your nephew's baseball games and things like that. So when we met, it wasn't fully like, oh, hello, hi, I'm Chris, how are you? We kind of just came in here, we figured out where we were putting this camera equipment, and we just kind of sat down and started talking. And it was much more fluid. It's really an amazing tool for that. It's been huge for us. Right.
I mean, for myself, it's been very detrimental to my success. I mean, like I said, it just feels very fluid. Yeah. It doesn't feel staged, and we're not jumping into business right away. So, I like it that way a lot more.
Yeah, for sure. So what are when somebody comes to you and they want to build a new boat, what are they trying to do? Do they come to you with like, here's kind of the missions that I have. I want to cruise from here to here. Like, what's that part of the process like?
So for a new build, I would say most of our clients that are looking at Nordhavns are very, very knowledgeable on the boats and the brand. So they already have a picture of what they're wanting to do. Do they want to cross the Pacific? Do they want to cross the Atlantic? I think it comes down to, does a client want to build a new boat and start from scratch? Or maybe time is of the essence and they want to purchase something on the brokerage side. So there's two avenues that you can really approach. But on a new build, I would say if a client's already set on the model that he's interested in, it just comes down to the customization of the boat. And again, depending on the model, depends on how much customization we can do. Okay. So on the Nordhavn 71, for example, that's more of a production style boat. We're trying to keep it like the 80, where it's almost a fully spec'd out boat. If you were to change nothing on the boat besides add electronics, they would be magnificent vessels. But of course, both boats offer different options, whether it's wall coverings, layouts, down to flooring. Do they want to add a sauna? Do they want to add a jacuzzi? Maybe a movie theater? Basically, depending on the model, if you can think it, we could do it for the most part.
Okay. And we were on an 80, right?
Yeah. With the elevator.
Yeah. Yeah. It was one of the things that impressed me the most about it that I wasn't expecting was when you go in the galley, how open and wide that whole space was. Like you felt like you were in a real living room. A lot of boats when you go in, I feel like I'm in a wide hallway with couches.
Very narrow.
Exactly. And this, it was like an entire rectangle shape, but you had the living room, the dining area, the open kitchen. It was really inviting to the point where, you know, I've never done 3 months or 6 months on a boat.
Yeah.
And I got to be honest, until I
could do a year on that boat.
Yeah, until I went into that boat, I thought people were out of their mind that they could sit on a boat for that long. And then I went in there, I'm like,
I could get used to it. And like you said, it's very spacious. It all just flows onto one level. But if you need a little bit more privacy, we could drop down the partition and that'll separate the galley from the salon. Let's say you have guests on board, you have a chef back there cooking, you kind of want to just create a little bit more privacy for the guests. We can add partitions as well.
Yeah. And a lot of the people that you're working with, either that buy the boats or that build the boats, do they like doing the maintenance and do they like getting hands-on? Or is it half and half? It's some like it, some don't?
I would say it's half and half, but I would say most owners can handle most problems, and I think most owners should be able to handle certain mechanical problems to a degree because there's not always going to be someone with you. You're not going to have a mechanic or a captain with you. Let's say you don't have satellite communications or whatever the case may be. But I would say most owners are pretty hands-on. A lot of these owners, they do a lot of research. They watch videos. We have a group, what's called a Nordhavn Owners Group online. So it's a forum where you have to own a Nordhavn to be in that group, and we verify each owner. And they basically can just go in there and say, hey, I'm on Nordhavn 6025, and I'm having a problem with my main engine. The RPMs aren't revving up or whatever the case may be. And you'll just have owners just chiming in, just dropping answers. Hey, do this, or call this person. So if they can't contact us right away, they'll help each other out.
Yeah, that's super helpful. I've noticed that with different things I do with music or the production stuff, is being able to have that community of people who are doing the same thing as you. They're going to be experiencing the same issues, and they can actually give you a resolution. It's nice to have that.
Right.
And the trawler owners they're pretty nice people. Like it's kind of amazing how open to helping or giving feedback, or they'll promote each other's pages on Instagram and things like that. It's
a very small, the Nordhavn community is a very small community. I like to think of it as a cult. Everyone's very tight knit. If they see one Nordhavn, they'll run up to the boat and like, hey, I have a Nordhavn too. Here's my boat, and you just become friends instantly, really.
Yeah. And so what's the build process like? Where do you guys build the boats?
So we build in 3 factories in Taiwan, China, and in Turkey.
Okay.
So the models get split up depending on the factory. So at our Turkey factory, we're building the all-new 41 and the 51. So those are production style boats. There's not many options. You basically just buy a slot and we'll deliver the boat.
Sure.
And we build boats in China and Taiwan, a combination of 2 yards. So the Nordhavn 71 is built at our Taiwanese yard.
Okay.
And those boats push out the 68s, the 76s, the 71s.
Okay, got it. Yeah, and I watched the video of the 71 delivery.
Yeah.
And they got it on the truck.
Yeah.
They're bringing it down the middle of the road. That's
right through the city. I mean, if you take a look at how close they are to some of the buildings and trees, it just blows your mind away.
It really does. It's amazing that that's all part of planning out how to build a factory, where you can do it, where you can find the people to do it,
right?
The skilled labor, and then also, how do we get this giant thing?
Yeah, exactly.
from this factory to
it's
the
not
water?
Their first rodeo. They've been building boats for a very long time. I want to say since the early 50s. And hopefully I'll be at the Taiwanese yard in early September.
Okay.
To go over my client's 71, hull number 3.
Nice.
So that should be a fun experience.
It's got to be exciting.
Pretty excited, yeah. Long flight, but pretty excited.
Yeah. Have you been over there yet?
I have not, no. This will be my first time in Taiwan.
Nice. Very cool.
So I'll make sure to take a lot of pictures and videos for social media. I'll make a YouTube video out of it or something, so it should be fun.
Oh, that's awesome. And then, so I noticed that I read something where the 120 that got delivered, that actually went from China to Alaska or Canada or something like that.
I thought their first stop was in Singapore.
It could be.
Yeah, I can't remember where their final destination was, but the bigger boats they have the option to just sail the boat right out of the factory. So on the 120 instance, we had a few PAE team members on board with the owner. They had a chef. Just made a great experience out of it. They were fishing, just a fun time.
That's got to be cool.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind spending a couple weeks out in the water on the 120. That's just a magnificent boat.
Yeah, and the prep for doing something like that has to be pretty hefty. Like charting everywhere you're going, making sure you got all the supplies, safety spots. Yeah, so something like the 71, does that get put on a ship?
So that will get put on a ship, yeah.
Okay.
So hull number 1 will get put on a ship and they'll head over to Seattle, Washington. It'll probably take about 45 days. Okay. It'll be offloaded in Washington by our Nordhavn service team up there. They'll deliver the boat to the docks and it'll begin the process of what we call the commissioning process. So basically we'll have anywhere from 1 to 3 techs on board and they'll go through every single system to make sure everything's operating as it should be before the owner takes delivery. So that's anything from electrical systems to the refrigeration, air conditioning, engines, generators. They're basically testing out everything. I mean, if it has a jacuzzi, they're turning on the jacuzzi. They're probably not getting in the jacuzzi, but
that we know of.
That we know of. But they're basically just going through the entire boat. They'll see trial, run some test numbers before that final delivery.
Okay, and how long does that process usually take?
For a 71, depending on the model, it could take anywhere from 30 to 90 days of commissioning. So the bigger the boat, obviously more time, the smaller the boat, closer to 30 days.
And so in that, when they test these things out, I mean, I'm sure it's not a specific number, but how many sea trials do they do roughly?
On a 71-foot boat, I would suspect a minimum of 3 sea trials. Okay. You'll do sea trials with mechanics. You'll do sea trials with the electronic guys. So these boats, most of our boats do not include electronics. So that'll be one aspect of the boat where a client will have to choose his own electronics package. Everyone likes a different brand, different systems. Sure. So you'll be testing everything from generators to engines, RPMs, electrical systems. But I would say a minimum 3 sea trials on average.
Okay, got it. And so after they take delivery, how do you guys prep them in terms of what goes into owning the boat? You have all this anticipation, this 2-3 year process for picking out what you want. It's getting built, you're getting pictures. All right, it's going on the boat, it's getting shipped over, it got here, we're doing the sea trials. Here you go. What happens then?
That's a good question. It's very different depending on the client. Okay. So we'll have some clients that this is, their 3rd, 2nd, 4th Nordhavn. Basically, delivery day comes and they just grab the keys and they're off. They don't need any training. Other clients, new to boating, this may be their first boat, period. So we'll go through a training session. That can be anywhere from a week to 10 days, depending on the buyer's, knowledge of mechanical systems and stuff like that. But we'll go through everything from driving the boat, learning the systems, electrical, what to do if this happens, what to do if that happens. Who do you call? Is this an emergency? Do you need to call us? Stuff like that. But it can vary anywhere from a week to maybe 14 days total, just depending.
Got it. Okay, cool. And so they've got it, they have the boat, they're taking care of it and everything like that. What are some of the things that owners should expect in terms of maintaining the boat? What should they prepare for in terms of time investment, cost investment? I know that all of these things will vary, but what is that conversation like with a new owner?
I would say as far as maintaining a boat, it's very similar to a car. If you don't use it, more things will break. Okay. So the more you use the boat, the less problems you'll most likely have. But I would say realizing that something will always be broken on a boat. You could buy a brand new boat, everything's not gonna work as it should. Why is it like that? I don't know. But you can ask any yacht manufacturer, it's just the way it is.
The nature of the beast.
The nature of the beast. Another thing I see is, owners might see a boat with a lot of hours and it scares them away right away. That a lot of the times is a good thing because it shows you that the boat is being used as opposed to the boat just sitting there. So I would say as far as maintenance, being on top of all your maintenance intervals, whether it's changing out the engine oils, water maker filters, whatever the case may be, the more you stay on top of it, the less issues you'll run into. But realistically, you'll always have some type of issue. I'd rather deal with 10 small issues than 10 small issues and 10 big issues.
Yeah, and one of the things that we see from our side is that preventative maintenance It's been huge. And that's something we learned from aviation, doing the software in aviation beforehand. Like these planes, they run all the time, but because it's so regulated, you hit a certain threshold of hours or calendar date, that component goes. It's got a life limit. Once it's done, you throw it out. Hey, it could have worked for another 1,000 hours, but if it didn't work for that other 1,000 hours, that thing falls out of the sky.
Exactly.
And so that's been a cool part of talking to our customers, especially the trawler owners, about how they take care of that stuff and stay ahead of it, because it avoids so many of these issues that you hear about. Like we talk to, commercial guys, we talk to ferry guys, we talk to yacht owners, and it's like when these issues come up, everything's almost reactive entirely. But the cool thing about the trawler owners is they very much are on top of it. So it's a lot of just smaller stuff. And for them, it's a little different than maybe somebody that owns like a bigger yacht and that uses it every once in a while, maybe charters it sometimes.
Right.
That's like an enjoyment thing once a month, once a quarter, once.
For some people, it's therapy.
Yeah. And for the trawler owners, what we've noticed is it's a part of their life. So they're living on it for a month, 3, 6 months, sometimes full time. And so the amount of things that can go wrong on a boat are huge. And just by staying ahead of it, it's mitigating so many of the issues that happen when you're just reactive instead. It's been fascinating to learn about, because some people they're living on these boats. They're doing the Great Loop. It's
24/7 year round. So if you can stay on top of the items before they break, that's probably your best bet. But there are some items where I see owners, they'll have spare parts for that item. So let's just say an air conditioning pump or whatnot. They'll run that old pump until it just goes. Because we're not an airplane, we're not in the air, we're not gonna fall out of the sky. So you might lose aircon for 10 minutes, you change out the pump and you have a spare pump on board. And then there's other items, I probably don't wanna wait until it breaks. Let me change it before it breaks. Like let's say your hydraulic coolant pump. I'll probably change it at the interval instead of changing it, right when it breaks and it fries on me.
Yeah, and that's the nice part. That is one of the things that I do like about the less regulation in this industry, is that if you stay ahead of things and then that not critical component fails, you can swap it out. And there's nobody from the boating administration.
Yeah, no one's coming down your neck, hounding you or whatnot.
And the Federal Boating Association or something like that. So that part's cool. So you do get a little bit more dynamic ownership than with aircraft.
Right. And like I said previously, most of these owners are hands-on. Most of the Nordhavns you'll see out there on the water are owner-operator. Once you get into that 80 foot or above, you'll see more captains, more crew, and that may be because of insurance, because the boat's too big, or maybe an owner just wants a captain to enjoy the boat more. But I would say most of these owners are owner-operator. Although we have a full service center here, it's not like the boats are just docked here 24/7 getting worked on. They might come in for service work for a month, get all the big items done that they just don't want to handle, and then once they're gone, they'll have to rely on themselves for the smaller items.
Sure, got it. And when somebody comes on and takes on one of those 80 footers or up, that is really where a captain comes into play. Even if your insurance will cover you, those they're a lot to handle, and there's a lot of moving parts. Trying to get those things into a tight slip, it's really impressive to watch them be able to do it. So do you guys, you've been around for a long time, do you guys have this kind of network of people of, hey, you're taking delivery of this boat, here's who you should get in contact with, here's like a few qualified captains to be able to do this? Do you guys help customers in that sense?
Of course. So we have a group of captains that we use. The biggest name that comes to mind is probably the San Diego captains. They're big on social media. You probably follow the two brothers. I can't remember where they're from. Somewhere in Europe, but they do, I would say maybe 95% of our deliveries. And they're some of the best in the industry, if not the best. And if you need them somewhere like tomorrow, if they don't have nothing on their schedule, they'll be there tomorrow and take the boat to Australia, however long it takes, at the flip of a switch.
It's amazing to watch them. We pull them up on our social media, and we're in this lock system going up here.
And they don't stop. So if you're on a time crunch, give them a call. There has to be a huge hurricane coming for them to stop or something, but they'll just keep pushing regardless.
Oh, that's awesome. It's cool that you can build that network of people too. All right, cool. Well, before we wrap up, is there anything else that we should touch on?
I'm just gonna think here because I'm trying to think.
Yeah, that's cool.
Insurance, offload.
Is there any like new developments with the company? Anything happening that you can talk about?
We do have the new Nordhavn 112 that we just released. I want to say about 3 weeks ago. We just put out a publication online. So that's a brand new Nordhavn model that it commingles with the 148 that we're building. So those two boats are all steel and aluminum, and clients will have a choice of 3 factories in Europe to build that boat. A 148 and a 112.
And is 148 the biggest that you guys have built, or have you built bigger?
That's the biggest we can build. We haven't built a 148 yet. The 120 is the biggest Nordhavn we've built to date.
Okay. That'll be a nice feat, pulling off a 148.
Yeah, absolutely. And those will be built in Europe. It's more for the European clientele. They're big on aluminum and steel out there. It's a different look, different lines. But I love both boats overall.
That's cool. And you might have to change it to the meters number.
Right, exactly. Yeah, we might have to go to meters and liters, and that'll really throw me off. Yeah, but that's actually a good point. That really throws me off when you speak with European clients and you're like, yeah, this is 400 feet of chain, and they're like, how much is that in meters? And I'm like 1,100 or something. So.
Wait, this is the N31M?
Yeah. No, luckily for me, you don't got to put it in there, but in the military, we shoot in meters. So I was lucky enough to know that we shoot in meters.
Okay.
And we don't use feet, because then it throws off all our allies. Like, hey, what the hell is 800 feet? Like,
doing calculations.
Yeah, exactly. No, I got it down. It's like you just times it by 3, and you're pretty darn close. Whatever it is in feet, times it by 3.
That's cool. Well, thank you for coming and doing this. I really appreciate it. Where can people get in touch with you? What's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
So I think everyone already knows where to find me. Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm on YouTube, Yachting with Fernando. But you can find me, my IG handle's Fernando.Diaz06.
Okay.
And I also run the Nordhavn Dreamers page. Of course, I run that for the company.
It's a cool page.
I tried my best.
Yeah, you're doing a good job, man. We'll send you some content.
Oh, I appreciate it.
We'll throw your info in the show notes below.
Awesome.
And, but yeah, thanks for doing this, man.
I appreciate it, guys. We'll definitely do it again.
Cool.